Okay, so this is the fourth in our series of process learning, looking at the learning between September 2020 and March 21. And here we're going to talk about effective cross and between sector work. So just a reminder that this is one of our enablers of change in Greater Manchester to support active lives. And in our previous learning, we had identified a kind of flow between building and connecting a network and aligning values and building those trusts into productive partnership working around common goals. Our previous video on this topic went into some detail about why this was important and how this flow worked. What we wanted to report this time around is that teams, by and large, with a couple of exceptions, have really reached that sort of norming stage of their relationships with steering groups and other partners. But actually distilling this into some meaningful courses of action, particularly at a time when there's a global pandemic, has been more challenging. I'll just briefly introduce some of the data from our perception survey that really sort of highlight that localities have got to that stage of good trusted relationships, but that only a few of them, a handful of them, are really able to say that they're working together on common projects and that there is actually a productive partnership in place. There's a couple of main reasons for this, and one is because the ideas and the new cross-sector working, for example, with pharmacies, is actually on hold at the moment due to the current lockdown restrictions, and there's every possibility and hope that it will spring back into action once those restrictions lift. But the other reason is that sometimes with such a vast array of potential opportunities and ways in which you might embed physical activity across the system, this can lead to a little bit of paralysis in terms of where to go first. Where we have actually seen more rapid progress is where it might be quite a small catalytic effect of something like a common interest or a Twitter conversation where this has then been able to garner interest from a number of parties and move things through the planning stages quite quickly. It's just reinforcing our suggestions from these process learnings that sometimes just taking a small first step is all that's needed. So just building on this learning in terms of our understanding of how effective cross-sector working happens, there's not been that much development to our understanding of that, but what we have seen is a much more productive development in the cross-locality work. And this has been built from really sort of formative established relationships now that have been encouraged through the local forums, through the sharing of process learnings, through the systems leadership programme, where people from across Greater Manchester are identifying kindred spirits and people with similar challenges and actually now working together. And so, for example, able to amplify issues such as disabled people's access to mainstream physical activity opportunities. And these opportunities to share and to spend time together enables us also to identify, celebrate and share those successes, which has a greater magnitude than just celebrating the successes in the locality alone. So really our conclusion being that you don't need to have buy-in from absolutely everybody around a table to actually make progress. In some cases, really committed teams of 3 to 4 people who have an idea and are able to run with it and take each other's viewpoints on those issues as equal partners, no matter what their formal role, does tend to be the way that things are actually happening and getting done at the moment during this global pandemic. So where does that leave us in terms of our understanding of this theory area? So yes, from a place-based point of view, effective cross and between sector working is important, but actually this is interpreted locally as being much broader and wider than just being about across sectors. And in fact, we would like to now think about considering what it means to work across organisational, sector and formal boundaries to enable active lives. This is one of our enablers of change in Greater Manchester and part of our process learning to March 2021.